I'd like to call the January Town Council meeting to order at this time. And we have a special guest with us tonight. We have Andrew Williams, who is a scout, and he is here tonight to earn his part of his citizenship in the community badge. And we are so glad to have you, Andrew. Thank you for coming out. At this time, could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Father, we invite you into this January Town Council meeting and ask for your guidance and your wisdom to help us make the right decisions for the citizens of this great town of Nashville. Amen.
Amen.
We will now look at the minutes. We have minutes from December the 3rd, the regular meeting, from December the 9th, the call meeting minutes, and December the 18th, the call meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve or correct anything in these minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then they are approved. Public comments period. Cindy Puckett, please come forward. There are 3 minutes. You're being timed, Ms. Puckett. So on your mark, get set, go.
I'm Cindy Puckett. I live at 1405 Fairfield here in Nashville. Madam Mayor, Town Council members, and Town Manager, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the merger between Nash County Parks and Rec and Nashville Parks and Rec. Like most residents of Nashville, I'm not a big fan of changes to our town. I see growth as a double-edged sword. I want to see Nashville flourish, but at the same time, I don't want it to lose its quaint appeal that so many places long for. When our children were small, one of my favorite things to do was to watch them play t-ball and Little League while my husband coached. You know you needed to get to the park early to ensure that the kids had a little time on the playground equipment, but also because you wanted to get a decent parking spot and a seat at the fence during the game. You couldn't just pull for your child's team because more than likely, your neighbor or close friend was playing on the opposing team. And rarely did we leave right after our game was over because living in a small town, you knew someone that was playing in a game after yours, so of course you had to stick around to cheer them on. Sadly, these days are behind us. Yes, our boys are older and have long outgrown their t-ball uniforms, but that's not the only thing that is different. There aren't teams lined up to take the field after the last play is made, and the parking lot isn't full of minivans carting around kids and snacks for after the game. The numbers are much smaller, and it's of no fault of anyone here tonight. The county saw an opportunity years ago to start a program for all of the county's youth, and after a lot of dedication and hard work, Nash County Parks and Rec is a huge success and a benefit for all of the children that live here. Used to, leagues in Nashville would have 6 to 8 teams playing against each other. Now we are lucky to have 2 full teams that compete against each other every week. We cannot compete with the county. It's time for a change, no matter how hard it is to make. Don't get me wrong, I think we can fill that park back up and give the children of Nashville the chance to have these memories of their days at the ball field, but we can't do it on the current budget we have now. I know bottom line is money, but we need to take into consideration how this will affect our children and what's best for them. A 6-year-old girl playing against a team with a few 9-year-old boys hardly seems safe or fair. The agreement, from what I understand, is for a 1-year trial. What do we have to lose? If it doesn't work, we regroup and start over. I know there was mention of purchasing a building, but the town once had the library in the back of the police department. If we could make that work, surely we can find a workable area for the current parks and rec office. We can figure out a way to make this work if we put the children first. Thank you
so much. Next, I'd like, let's see, it's Susan Phelps and Andy Hagee.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see you all in the new year. So I'm Susan Phelps with Nash County. I know most of you up there. I'm here to introduce Andy Hagee. He is our new Economic Development Director for Nash County. and started on January 1st. So I'll let him introduce himself and take it away.
Thank you, Susan. Susan's been a real great help to me on my now day 4, and we've covered quite a bit of ground and toured a lot of properties and had a good lunch meeting with the Carolinas Partnership and Brad earlier today, and so everybody's pulling together, planning to work together, and as well as us working with you. And I come to this position by way of Virginia and West Virginia. The latest was executive director with the Greenbrier Valley Partnership and 3-county region, and left it, I believe, in a pretty good shape and created a few jobs while we were there. And that's what it's all about, is working together as a team with the town, with the partnership and the county, as well as the state, and trying our best to create jobs, capital investment, and tax revenue for all of us, but most especially good quality and good paying jobs. So I look forward to working with each and one of you. We briefly met Randy earlier today, but we're going to sit back down with him and go into a little more detail on what we could do and help the town out. And please don't hesitate if you have a question. If Brad or I maybe both can help you, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or help you out in any area. In addition to economic development, I have several years of commercial real estate under my belt. So anything I can help you with, I would be more than happy to.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you.
Ann Freeman.
I'm Ann Freeman, and I live at 413 East Park Avenue here in Nashville. I'm speaking in favor of the Recreation Department merging with Nash County. If you could attend a county soccer game or basketball game and then attend a soccer game or basketball game with the Town of Nashville Recreation Department, you would understand why I'm in favor of the merger. The last few years, my granddaughter participated in the sports program at Glover Park. The attendance was so low that most of the time her team would play against the same team every weekend, which was no fun. That's why she is now playing, and has for several years, for Nash County. She has excelled in soccer, basketball, and futsal. She's learned so much from girls her same age and the volunteer coaches. I ask you to please, when voting in this matter, please think about the kids and the many ways that they will benefit from this merger now and in the future. It can't always be about the money, and I know that it's very important and it's a large part of this, but this is one time that I think that we really need to think about the kids. They are our future. They're the future of Nashville. We have a year, from what I understand, to see if this is what is best for Nashville and Nash County. I see no need in purchasing or leasing a building until we see the results at the end of a year. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Oh, it's my turn. Thank you so much, Ann. Now it is Chance Puckett.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chance Puckett, and I live at 1405 Fairfield Drive here in Nashville. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm an avid supporter of athletics in the area. I played essentially every recreation level sport here in Nashville, and I'm currently the president of Northern Nash High's Student Booster Club. I also presently work with Nash County's Parks and Recreation Department, and I write covering local athletics from the recreation level up to the high school level for the Nashville Graphic here in town. As somebody who has undergone affiliations with both the town and county recreation departments, including participation as an athlete, volunteer work, and paid employment, I believe a merger with the county would be greatly beneficial for both the town and county. Unfortunately, our town's recreation department has vastly fallen off over the last 20-some years, and merging with the county brings in a new excitement to our area that stems from hosting travel baseball and softball tournaments a revitalized and rejuvenated local recreation leagues, and a larger quantity of fair opportunities for young athletes to compete. Merging with the county also allows for the town's recreation department to expand into other areas that would benefit youth residents who aren't necessarily as interested in sports as others. As someone who plans to live in Nashville beyond graduation from high school and college, being a part of a new era of citizens and representing the future of Nashville, I believe that this merger would be beneficial on multiple levels to each of the parties involved, the children, the county, and the town. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chance. Brian Puckett.
Good evening. My name is Brian Puckett, and I also reside at 1405 Fairfield Road. And I'm here tonight also to speak in support of the merger. I grew up in the town of Nashville. I coached in the town of Nashville before I had kids, coached in the town of Nashville after I had kids. Shortly after that, the county, they started their rec program. And when this town was vibrant, we had people from all over the county coming to Nashville because they didn't have one. Well, they have one now. I hear people say, well, and speaking with some of you, that, hey, we want it to be the way it was. We want it to be the way it was 20 years ago when the field, but what do they want? Do they want the town to run it, or do they just want the vibrant fields full of children, parking lots full, people out in the park playing? To me, the competition for the children is what it's about, not whether the town runs it or whether the county runs it. I've watched, much as some other folks said, the county's program. Haven't coached in it, but I've watched it, and I've seen it, and it's very competitive. Their parks are full. I think they've got a good staff. I think they've got good programs, and I think it'll be good for the town of Nashville to partner with them. I can't speak for what the contract says as far as what happens when lights go out, who mows the field, things like that. But just thinking and how it affects the children and how our children in the town of Nashville can have fair competition between, girls versus girls, age versus age, and very close brackets. I think that's what's best for children. I appreciate your time tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Now let's look at the items for consideration. A is the consideration of an interlocal agreement between the town of Nashville and Nash County for the delivery of field athletic programs at Glover Park. Do I hear a motion for this? Is there discussion? I need a second for that.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a few comments, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to make. I jotted these down because I didn't want to ramble too much, but I've thought a lot about the proposed partnering with the county for youth athletics. I've studied the data, and I've listened to those who are in favor and those who are opposed, and I do get it. Those who are opposed to the plan don't want to give up that program that's been a part of the town for so very long, but unfortunately, youth athletics in the town is not what it used to be. We've heard from many parents who have spoken about the issues of not enough players to make two opposing teams, young children playing with older children, boys with girls. We've heard about the recreation director having to go out and solicit players just to have enough members for two opposing teams. And this isn't working, and sadly, that trend will continue. I understand that change is hard, but change is happening. Even if we choose to leave things as they are, more people are going to pull out of the town program until it vanishes. I've heard from a number of people who've already decided that their kids and grandkids will be going to Cooper's Park for spring athletics. Admittedly, I'm an analytical person. I look at raw data and I try to make good decisions based on that. But I've chosen to step back from this and not think of it from my head, but think of it from my heart, so to speak. And I've sat in these meetings and I've seen young men back in the back of the auditorium pretty much every meeting that we've had about this. Men who are coaching currently the town's football program. And I want to thank them and all the people who have donated their time, their energy, and their effort to making the town's program what it is. I thank you for your dedication, not to the program, but to the children, because I do believe that's what this is about. It is about the children. There's nothing magical about the Towns program. It's the people that make it work. It's the men and women and the moms and dads who give of their time and energy to work with the kids, and that doesn't have to be restricted to the town limits. I believe that Thomas Gillespie, the Nash County Recreation Director, has the same heart and desire to provide the best athletic programs possible for our kids. And I hope you who are involved in town athletics will continue to support our kids and all the kids by offering your talents, whether it's under the name of Nashville Recreation or Nash County Recreation. Folks, the kids won't know the difference. All they want to do is get out and play. This is not about savings. This is about the town providing new programs to fill a void that has been expressed by many in the community. So if council votes to partner with the county for youth athletics, I would ask the manager and recreation director to provide a plan of action before moving forward with any new programs or securing additional space so that council can weigh in on how we proceed in a new realm of programming. Nashville is in a very desirable position to do some dynamic, outside-the-box things in recreation and cultural resources that can make us the envy of other small towns. I look at this as an opportunity, and I am in favor of approving the interlocal agreement with Nash County for recreation.
Are there any other comments? I'd like to make a comment, please. I have grown up in Nashville. It's been my home all my life, and I love Nashville. But I see this as two issues. One, and I appreciate all of the people that have called me in it and trusted into me and sharing their opinions. And I have to say this, senior citizens have called me, many calls coming by my house, stopping me. But I'll have to say this for the senior citizens. Every single one said we want what's best for our children. Not one of them said, no, we don't want Nashville to give up their park. That's not the issue. We want to merge with Nash County. We want our children to have the best opportunities. I wouldn't want my granddaughter who's 6 out playing with a 9-year-old boy. That's just common sense. But the other issue with the seniors and the people that have talked to me is this. They just want to be reassured that we aren't going to jump in and purchase a building, rent a building, hire more staff, when based on a 4% input in survey, we don't yet know how many will show up. And you know, you can get surveys and you can have people to sign up and then 10 people will show up. So what you said about really studying before we do anything is great. But Mr. Lanson, do you have anything you can say to help me out with that part? Because I see it as two issues, and so do the people that have talked with me.
Sure. Well, we can do just that. In fact, Marguerite and I were brainstorming today on how, if the council decides to partner with Nash County in this venture, we could present in the upcoming budget a plan for providing programming, alternate programming, maybe not right out of the chute, 27 new different programs, but ease into it. And we can do that without necessarily leasing space. We've talked at length about using this room for dual purposes. We'd have to do a little retrofitting to take the counter up here and partition it off so whatever recreational program is happening out where you guys are all sitting, the kids can't get up here, horse around, mess around. We'd have to put a door over here. Park and Rec could move into the office over here and that be their base operation. But it would, obviously take cooperation with the council to use this as a dual purpose. I've also spent the day calling around to see if there were other venues that we could hold our regular council meetings at, such as where the school board at Rocky Mount or Nash Rocky Mount School Administration, where they have their meetings. Possibly we could use theirs. If there's any place in the courthouse that we might be able to, move our regular meetings to, and then all this space could be Park and Rec, and it wouldn't cost the town anything because we already own it, so to speak. And how we could accomplish providing alternate non-athletic programming with a full-time director and part-time staff, which would result in some savings and, give an opportunity to explore for that first year and see what we throw out that really is embraced by the community and the people want to participate in.
Have you checked into the community building or the Nash Arts for additional space?
I haven't checked into either of those. The community building, I've been told, is very well occupied pretty much year-round with events and people renting it. I do need to check with Nash Arts, though. That's a good suggestion. I guess I may be a little assumptuous here, thinking that you guys are okay with another meeting venue other than this one. And we have had no discussions. I haven't put that question to you, but, to get back to what the mayor was asking about, I feel confident going forward we can put together a park and rec program that meets the needs of the kids and what the families want, and at the same time is respectful of the taxpayers' dollars.
In other words, we would ease into it and not go full bore.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'm sitting here and I'm gonna tell you the truth. I've been on this board for 12 years. And this is gonna be the hardest vote that I think I've had to go through in 12 years. I have listened to people, and I guess you can call me from the old school, from when back 15, 20 years ago, when I had kids in the athletic field, at the athletic field. And I've talked to, I think, just about everybody in this room tonight at one time or another, and a lot of people that are not in this room, and I wish they were here tonight, about different things. And like the mayor said, this is a two-sided thing. There's pros and there's cons for both of them. And I know that the main thing to consider are the kids, and I wholeheartedly understand that. But I also was reminded too that the kids can't get to the park by themselves on many occasions. Parents got to take the time and bring them to it. And one thing that's still clawing at my gut is that the scholarship situation that the underprivileged children would have to do. And I personally, I just don't like the part about a parent having to show that their children are the needy kids at school. The free breakfast programs, I'm about to say, you got to show some documentation showing that you are needed. I think that's getting a little bit private, should remain private. But I do honestly see both sides of this, and I understand where you're coming from about we have to engage with progress sometime. But this is going to be the hardest vote that I think I've made since I've been on this council. So, however I go, and I'm not going to say yet, but please understand that I have given it some serious thought, and I wish a lot of people that had pushed me one way or the other was. I wish this room was packed tonight. I really do. But there are some things that I'm still not convinced about, but there are some things that I'm surely convinced about. So this is going to be a hard night for me. I should have called in sick.
Any other comments?
Well, I feel like I'm a broken record. We've been talking about this for quite some time, and I think I've said my piece on it, and I don't think I could say it any better than Lynn, so I just second what she had said.
Any other comments? We have I took the motion, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the interlocal agreement between the town of Nashville and Nash County for the delivery of the field athletic program, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion carries. We will be, and I'm excited about that. And let me tell you, I have to say, listening to people's stories that love the park, that gave a lot of their life to the park, I understand. But for whatever reason, when the children don't come, you can't have fair games for the children. So I think in the long run, and it's only for a year, and we are going to be watching to make sure that the county does take care of our children. But thank you so very much.
Now, I did have just a couple of comments regarding the contract itself.
Okay, go ahead.
So in the financing portion, Randy, did we change any of that language?
I didn't change it in the copy you have here, but where that financing on B2, where it talks about scholarship or financial assistance, what's been suggested is we just eliminate the word scholarship so there's no confusion that there has to be an academic achievement component there, and just call it that Nash County shall provide financial assistance to needy participants at Glover Park, and leave it at that.
Now, A, though, where the funds sit until we agree that they're going to be expended, and then just that they don't accrue.
Correct, and she's talking about the county's request that the town set aside $20,000 a year for capital improvements to the park. Add language that those dollars will remain in the town's coffer until such time as they're requested by Nash County and approved by the council for expenditure, and that if they're not expended in a particular year, they just resume back to the general fund and get reprogrammed in the same amount the following year.
And then the last one, E, just until such time as a meter is placed for the water.
Right, we're exploring putting a water meter in the park, and Lee's assured me that it can be done.
Yes.
So we'll see about that. This agreement being 1 year in length, when we renew this, hopefully a year from now, we can make changes with regard to that if the county's willing.
That was it.
Okay.
Mayor, before we go any further, to all the people that are here and to the media that's probably here, this vote is over with. Thank goodness. But I want everybody to be assured that even though I said no, the yes votes overrule me, and I will support what this board has decided to do 110%. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Let's move on to item for consideration 4B, and that is the resolution authorizing the sale of surplus personal property at the electronic auction. And let me just read a little bit of this. It says, whereas NCGS and 160-270 allows the town council to sell personal property at an electronic auction upon adoption of a resolution or order authorizing the appropriate official to dispose of the property at electronic auction. And whereas the town manager has recommended that the property listed below should be sold at an electronic auction as surplus property. And so it lists what they're going to be selling, but the town manager or his desired designee is authorized to sell by electronic auction at www.govdeals.com. And it will be beginning January the 27th, 2020 at 8 a.m. and ending January the 31st, 2020 at 5 p.m. And the surplus property described, and you will be seeing this later on in the paper, and is per terms and conditions of the government deal in accordance with in North Carolina General Statutes 160A-270. So the town clerk is directed to publish this in the Nashville Graphic at least once and not less than 10 days before the date of the auction, and a copy of this resolution or a notice summarizing its content as required to the North Carolina General Statutes 160A-270.
Question, Mayor, will this be posted online, Lou, as far as just the fact that there is going to be a public auction?
And there's some good stuff on this sale bill too, by the way. I'm kidding.
That was sarcastic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I hear any motion that we?
I have a question.
Okay.
The sewer lateral camera, Lee, we have a replacement for that, don't we? I thought,
For the sewer lateral camera, to my knowledge, we don't have a replacement. I think on the sheet there's two of them. One's bits and pieces, and then the newer one is also damaged beyond repair. We have a sewer mainline camera,
okay.
but we don't have a sewer lateral camera. We have discussed with some of the employees to get one.
I knew
based
that
on
we
what we're
purchased a
seeing.
new camera And I was hoping that it was still operational.
Well, that main, for the mains is, these
Yeah,
are the
sewer mains,
laterals.
it's operational. For the sewer laterals, two different cameras, two different styles. The lateral cameras are non-operational.
Okay.
These get put in tight places and then they don't
I know.
come out and you tug on them.
But we know how important they are. That's why I was
Yeah.
wondering about if we had a replacement or something.
So the last one we purchased, the straight line camera is still operational?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That was my question.
Good. Do I hear a motion that we approve this?
So they,
Second.
Second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, the consideration carries. Now, we're going to go to item for consideration D, consideration of ordinance amendment 2020-02, and, oh, excuse me, C, I do know my alphabet. Consideration of ordinance amendment 2020-1, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Nashville by creating a new Article 11 entitled Backflow and Cross Connection Control in Chapter 38 Utilities. Now, Manager, I am going to turn that over to you.
Sure. Well, if you had a chance to read the agenda report on it, this is an ordinance we should have had in place a while back. And Lee has taken the time to use a model ordinance from rural water and from another county that he found and adapted it to our use. And we are putting this before the council, recommending its approval. It was pointed out to me prior to the meeting by one of our council members that we have a few items that need some cleanup in it. So at this time, I guess I would ask the council to table this item, let us clean those items up, and then bring it back to. There's some inconsistencies where it talks about the county, because this was a county ordinance. It should say town, and a few other things like that.
are you requesting a motion at this time?
Motion to table it.
I move that we table it till we can investigate it further.
Okay, this, number C will be tabled then.
Well, you
I
second.
think,
Yep, second.
did you have a question, Louise?
I have a question. In the meantime, could Lee shed some light on this, because this is new to us, and explain why we need this and why we haven't had it in the past? And have we been vulnerable all this time without it?
So, part of our distribution permit through the state, we have to deliver aesthetically pleasing drinking water and maintain the integrity of our distribution system. And in 2003, the state passed a law, updated the regulations that state that all licensees, people that have a distribution permit have to incorporate a cross-connection control program. So what cross-connection control does is that ensures that the municipality is doing its due diligence to protect against cross connections, potential cross connections, which is basically anything that's connected to the distribution system, but it focuses heavily on commercial, industrial, businesses, and types of facilities like that.
So we haven't had it
Correct.
since 2003.
Correct. And why, I can't really speak on that because I don't know. But once I got in, I got my feet wet and started reviewing things, found it out, brought it to Randy, and we've begun the process to get it enacted as soon as possible.
How much is it going to cost us to come into compliance?
To come into compliance initially with the ordinance, there's no setup cost. But I think as you'll see, once the language gets a little more cleared up in the ordinance, you can see that a lot of it's up to us to manage, maintain the database, and enforce the ordinance, and then a lot of the testing cost and whatnot, the annual expenses are passed on to the users of the system.
Now, the users, this would not entail residential users, would it, or just business users? I guess what I'm asking,
Irrigation systems should be protected by a backflow device, yes.
But you mean the individual user? So like whoever is not in compliance is the one who bears the cost
Correct,
of the item. It's not going to be dispersed amongst all of the taxpayers.
correct. It's per user that falls within the guidelines of the ordinance.
Yeah, but if you're a typical homeowner and you don't have a private well that's also connected to your house with the town's water, there's no need for a check valve. If you have an irrigation system, that's a potential source for cross-connection, and you do need a check valve then.
Correct.
So for a majority of the residential users in Nashville,
would not.
there's no impact with this.
So it's mostly commercial.
Mostly, yes.
Right, okay.
Anybody who is a water user that is a potential risk of contaminating our public water supply with something they do in their manufacturing or business process, such as a dry cleaner, a funeral home, somebody with a boiler system where they're taking water, putting it in a vessel. If in the event that we were to have a water main break and there would be a negative pressure in our water main, it could potentially siphon water out of their private piping and put it into the system, hence the need for the check valve. And in some instances, those check valves have to be testable, which is where our cross-connection inspection program that this ordinance establishes comes into place. We have to maintain records of those users that have testable check valves, that they're actually having them tested by a licensed plumber or tester once a year and keeping the paperwork on it. So Lee needs to have copies of that, and that's part of what our inspection program will entail going forward.
It's great, we're taking care of that.
But bottom line is our water supply has been vulnerable.
Yes.
Maybe to answer that question, Louise, a lot of the plumbing, most of the users who are required by law to have these already have them. We're just not knowledgeable of them, and we're not testing them, or we're not verifying that they have been tested. They're out there, they're in the system. Most licensed plumbers know what the requirements are, and they put them in. So maybe not quite as vulnerable as you may initially think.
But the water has still been checked on a regular basis to make sure we had no contamination in our water
Correct.
system anyway.
We sample our water
We
every
sample our
day,
water on
and
a regular basis.
we're on a sampling schedule
Right.
with the state, and you can only regulate what you're aware of, and to some extent, every drinking water system is vulnerable to something. And, like I said, we discovered it, and now we're taking the steps forward to enact it, get it corrected, and do the best that we can.
Thank you, Lee. And this will be tabled.
Yeah, did you ask
Did we
for a
take a
vote
vote?
on it?
No, we got the
No, we
motion. Okay, all those in favor of tabling 4C, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It will be tabled. Now we'll move on to item D under the items for consideration. Consideration of ordinance amendment 2020-02, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Nashville for sewer surcharges in section 38-279. And again, I yield that to you.
Well, another thing Lee has discovered in looking at what we have as an ordinance and what we get billed by the city of Rocky Mount for sewerage, is that our sewer surcharges don't match up with what Rocky Mounts are, and they need to. We have a component that we're paying sewer surcharges on to the city of Rocky Mount, which is missing in our ordinance. So what this proposed ordinance does is put in that sewer surcharge, and what that is, there's two kinds of ammonia or nitrogen. There's NH3, which we have a sewer surcharge for, but we do not have one for TKN, which is a total nitrogen measure. And what this ordinance does is create a sewer surcharge in our own in the town ordinance that allows us then, those sewer users that we sample because they have heavy loads of BOD, COD, total suspended solids, and the other surcharges. We're charging them now, but it's not in the ordinance. And this brings us, once again, compliance between our ordinance and our practice. So, and then there were also some differences in the threshold in our ordinance and what our agreement is with Rocky Mount for concentrations. And this ordinance corrects and makes those concentrations mirror each other.
Do I hear a motion to approve this consideration?
I move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The consideration is approved. Town managers report?
Just a few things quickly. We had, I had staff meetings this morning, and I just want to pass a few things on that the department heads had communicated to me. Just a reminder for you that we, and the community, we do have our community forum coming up next week, next Tuesday, January 14th at 6 p.m. here at Town Hall. And the purpose of that meeting is to hear what the citizens have to say, whatever that might want to be. Other than that, we don't have an agenda.
Is it 6 or 7? Most people are engaged at 7 o'clock for our meetings. Is it 6?
I-
It was 6 o'clock. The time was not set.
Okay.
But we didn't know how much input, public input we would have. So
Okay.
6 o'clock is what time
Okay.
was set.
Hopefully there will be a lot.
Yeah, and this is really a time that we were elected to serve you. We are your servants, but at the same time, we want to make certain that we are doing and accomplishing the desires and the visions you have for Nashville. So that's why we truly want to hear, so we just won't do what we would like to do, but for our great citizens of Nashville.
And then hopefully get some ideas the council can for the budget retreat, the council's budget retreat, which will be Monday, January 27th here, beginning at 9 o'clock. From the finance department, we have implemented, Sam has implemented a credit card payment so people can pay their utility bill and their taxes if they choose with a credit card and online if they want to do that. And just to give you some numbers, that was rolled out in December, and in the month of December, the finance department collected $1.37 million in various payments. A lot of that was probably taxes, but again, you know, water, sewer, garbage, recycling fees. From the fire department, we had longtime volunteer Tony Bailey retire from our fire department after 28 years of service to the Nashville Fire Department and the Momeyer Fire Departments. And the chief wanted to make sure that there was some recognition for Tony for the service he's given to the communities over the years. From the library, Tequila told us that one of the new programs that she's implemented already at our library is a journalism club for teenagers. Just another way to get the young people into the library and give them some rewarding and experiences with a journalism club. Also had from the police department, Chief Puckett, we now have 5 officers who are certified to run radar. When the chief came, I think we had 1. And we will soon have 2 more, if I understand what he said, for a total of 7. So,
Slow down.
Slow down.
and then he's lined up Larry Danford, who is with Wake Forest PD and is also a part-time police officer for Nashville. He's developed a program for active shooter. We've all heard about the unfortunate events that have been happening in the churches and the schools, and he wants to offer active shooter training to the town staff and to the business community and their staff. So there's going to be 2 sessions coming up. One for the town staff will be February 5th, and the other one I think is going to be February 25th. Thank you, Chief.
And what was the January one?
Nothing in January, February 5th and
February 5th and 25th.
right.
Okay.
The February 25th one will be, I presume, here, and it'll be available to businesses if they want to send their staffs to attend.
What time would that be?
It's from 6:30 to 8:30, and I'm gonna put it out on the
we're gonna have an overwhelming response. We're gonna have more than one class, and I'm coordinating the dates with, Lieutenant Dan Wake Forest, make sure that he's good.
Then from Public Works, again, not so good news, but the lift station out at the DOC or the prison is back to running on one pump again. We had two pumps going for a while. Some of the piping that the one pump pumps into failed. It's got to be replaced. And so Lee is looking into getting prices. That lift station is one of the main lift stations in town, obviously. And, you know, it's been almost 20 years since it was last rehabbed. Looking at getting prices on redoing it. And then we got the library roof replacement, not restoration. It's coming up here in early February or March. And then the HVAC system at Glover Park, which hasn't worked in a while, and we've been getting around along with window air conditioners. We have a contractor coming here January 13th to change that out and get that working. And then tomorrow, the aviation lift station abandonment project. We have a pre-construction meeting in the neighborhood with the contractor, the engineer, and I invited the property owners who are along that route to come and listen firsthand to the contractor, what he's going to do and how they're going to do it. So that's all I have for manager's report.
Thank you so kindly. Are there any comments from the council?
Yes, I was going to ask the library roof. It was about 48,000, is that right? Is that,
I think the bid came in under that though, didn't it, Lee? Or was it right at it?
I think it was just under 47 and some change.
But it's not replacement, it's restoration.
Correct.
It's restoration.
we've had so much trouble with this roof. Is this going to be good?
I hope so.
And the HVAC out at the,
Glover Park?
we had set aside 25,000. Is that going to be less, I hope?
Yes, I think, Lee, what was it, 12.5 is what the...
10.5.
10.5 is what the price came in at. So
That's good.
it'll get fixed and then Marguerite won't be there anymore.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the council?
I'd just like to thank all the councilmen, the citizens of Nashville that have showed up the last couple of meetings we've had for the last month and a half. Basically about this park type deal we just entered into. And as always, when something comes up, our town people show up. I would like for you to show up when there's smooth sailing to see what's going on. But I do appreciate all the input that people have given me for and against. It like I said last week, I'm here to voice your concerns and speak for you. And that input that I get from you means a lot to me. So please don't stop. And I think everybody in here knows where I stay. And a bunch of you have already stopped by. Thank you.
Anybody else? Council. At this time, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11 for economic development, and also for North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 for personnel. Is there a motion that we go into?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
So we'll go into close. Thank you again so much for coming out tonight. You're what gives us our encouragement, because we want to serve you, so don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget to talk to us, tell us how you feel, and thank you again for coming out.